Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Alana and I review books on this channel. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, why don't you go ahead on and you might not like it, but maybe you want to stick around and subscribe and and all that other stuff and leave me a comment. Let's get that out of the way now. Today's book review is going to be Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. And I read this book back over the summer, and I'm finally getting around to doing a review on the YouTubes. So let's jump right in, shall we? At the moment, for the first time ever, I felt I'd become a part in the machine of society. I've been reborn, I thought. That day, I actually became a normal cog in society. In Convenience Store Woman, we have a novel about Keiko Furukawa, who's been working at the same convenience store for about 18 years, and she's always been odd. She doesn't quite fit in with normal society. Her behavior is different, especially for a woman, and she also never did the traditional route of things. So she didn't go to university, she didn't pursue a career, she hasn't got married, she doesn't have children, and she's in her 30s, her mid-30s at the point in this novel. And she's becoming increasingly pressured by the people around her to do things that are more socially acceptable, even though this pressure, and nobody is taking into consideration that she actually likes her job at the convenience store for the most part. She's good at it. So why disrupt something that isn't really bothering her? So one of the main questions that this book asks, as you can tell from the quote that I used to open up the video or the book, is what does it mean to be a real member of society? It is the start of another day, the time when the world wakes up and the cogs of society begins to move. I am one of those cogs going around and around. I have become a functioning part of the world, rotating in the time of day called morning. What a pain, I thought, wondering why everyone felt a need for reassurance. So the convenience store has provided our main character, Keiko, or Furukawa, because I believe it's more acceptable, or culturally in Japan, you call people by their last name or their surname. In a way, so the convenience store has provided Furukawa with a way to function within society that allows her to mask how socially awkward she really is. She's always struggled with being able to relate with others, and frequently asks questions about the things that other people just blindly follow. However, because she is so different, she's able to watch people around her and then objectively observe what they're doing and then critique it. She's also able to observe human behavior and take note of what works and what doesn't work, compute it to memory, and then execute it and appear more normal than she really is. Again, this objectivity, her analysis of being able to watch behavior, watch how people interact, analyze what's socially acceptable, what's not socially acceptable. So she's very aware that she's kind of like the odd woman out here. Allows her to see how people are just doing things to just be affirmed by society. She's a really interesting main character for Furukawa because she is just mimicking those around her. But she knows that at the core of it, she's like, I just don't get it. And so here's a good example of that. I was good at mimicking the trainer's examples and the model video he'd shown us in the back room. It was the first time anyone has ever taught me how to accomplish normal facial expressions and manner of speech. When I first started here, there was a detailed manual that taught me how to be a store worker, and I still don't have a clue how to be a normal person outside of the manual. So throughout the whole novel, even though it's quite short, we get these frequent descriptions of how Furukawa is copying other people's behavior. And this actually greatly reminded me of autism. And of course, there's variation in everything. Nothing is a microcosm. Nobody functions within, nothing is a monolith, but it's not uncommon for people who are on a spectrum to study and mimic how other people act as a way to mask and as a way to just make certain social situations a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more so that other people are actually understanding what they're doing, just so they can have these more normal interactions, even though they're just like, oh, so that's how you get point A from point A to point B. You have to do this, you know what I mean? So I probably did a really bad example, like explaining that, but really the best way to put this is it's called masking, and it's a way to kind of study or put on the right face in order to get the job done. And masters at masking really know how to put on different masks for different social environments. Even though working at the convenience store allows our main character to act as a normal member of society, she's not convinced that what everybody else is doing makes sense. Her family and acquaintances don't understand why she's unmarried, why she doesn't seem to want children. There's actually this really funny, but it's dark humor quote about when she is with her sister, and her sister's kid won't stop crying, and Furukawa's like, just end the kid's life. I'm not even kidding. It's sarcasm, but she's like, this is just irritating. Don't put up with this. She doesn't seem to want children. She doesn't have baby fever by any means. Why they're looking down on her because she's kept this job that's considered, bottom of the barrel. And also she's single. Why has she made no attempts at romance by, up to her 30s? And she does enter into a pseudo relationship. It's just the facade of one on the outside, just to get people off her back. But she's irritated that it just opens up the door for more questions to be had about. So, oh, now that you're in a relationship, when you're getting married, when you're having kids, what are you going to do this? It's like people just never stay out of your business, right? People think that your business is their business, and it's not. And so Furukawa is really acknowledging the superficiality of all of these life scripts that people have bought into. And just because her life is different, people assume that she is unhappy. And here was everyone taking it for granted that I must be miserable when I wasn't. When something was strange, everyone thought they had the right to come stomping in all over your life to figure out why. I found that arrogant and infuriating, not to mention a pain in the neck. Sometimes I even wanted to hit them with the shovel to shut them up, like I did that time in elementary school. Furukawa overall genuinely likes working at the convenience store. It makes sense to her. Yes, it's not glamorous, but she's good at it. She's figured out the system, the code of the convenience store. She understands how it functions intrinsically, and in a way, the convenience store is in of itself its own character in this book. A convenience store is not merely a place where customers come to buy practical necessities. It has to be somewhere they can enjoy and take pleasure in discovering things they like. I nodded in satisfaction and walked briskly around the store checking displays. I could hear the store's voice telling me what it needed, how it wanted to be. I understood it perfectly. So I don't really feel like this is a book, given its short length, that needs this super detailed analysis about, how in order to really just kind of get by in society, a lot of times you do have to kind of buy into certain things in order to function within societies. And of course, it's going to vary from culture to culture. But overall, we can't deny that there are just certain things that you do, or in the States maybe feel like you have to do, just to make life easier. And because if you don't do them, it's like people won't leave you alone. So it's so blatant in this book. She spells it out. I don't really feel like it needs this long, drawn out analysis. Sometimes it is what it is. We also can't deny that there is pressure for people to have certain types of jobs, to make a certain amount of money, to get married by a certain age, then own property by a certain age, have a certain amount of kids, get educated, travel the world, etc., in order to be considered successful. And yet, our main character doesn't really accomplish any of these things. And I would argue that in her own right, she is successful. She's found something that she likes to do, that she's good at. It makes sense to her. She's figured it out. And that's what she wants to do. She wants to, in a way, this is a character who is living a quiet life. Whether you agree with it or not, whether other people agree with it or not, yeah, she's strange, but strange. I understand her perfectly. Just the way that she processes, I totally get her. Leave her alone. Like people just don't know how to stay out other people's business. Okay, this is what this book is basically getting at. And also, in a way, to me at least, this is one of those books that makes a case for those people who work certain jobs that are the backbone of society. Someone has to work at a convenience store so that when you walk into the store, it's set up. You can get what you need and then be on about your way. Somebody has to pick up the trash. Somebody has to, fix streets and fill potholes and repair bridges and all this other stuff. Somebody has to do those jobs. Somebody has to be the mechanic. Nothing is wrong with these jobs. And in some of these jobs, you can actually make a good living. But, people will often say, oh, and you can't deny it. There are certain job titles that are looked on a little bit more, they're considered better. Let's just call a spade a spade. People will, oh, you're an engineer. Oh, you're an attorney. Oh, you're a doctor. Oh, you're a business owner. You're a CEO, whatever. People tend to look at those things more favorably than the person who's chosen to do something different, which, can we get past that? Who cares? Like, are you happy doing what you're doing? Good for you. And again, some of these jobs, people don't realize that you can actually make a good wage and make a good living. They're just not seen as glamorous as others. Maybe that's what I'm really trying to say. Like I said, I wrote in my review, if somebody wants to do somebody wants to do certain things, even if they're not considered glamorous, let them live. Okay? So what if they're a little different? Let them live. Yeah. And let's detour a little bit. Let's have a bit of chat. So we also see this played out on social media a lot, which is why I'm not a big fan of lifestyle vloggers. Yeah, I'm about to call it a whole genre of content. Lifestyle and family vlogging, not a fan. A lot of it is a facade. A lot of it is, look how much I'm traveling. Look what I'm eating. Look what I'm wearing. Look at how put together my life seems. It's so fake. A lot of it is fake. It's a highlight reel, and it often messes up the viewer in the head. Not most. I mean, I wouldn't say I don't know, but there are a lot of people who are affected negatively by that kind of content because they're thinking, oh, I'm not self-employed. I'm not raking in 6 figures or 7 figures or 8 figures. I can't afford to travel the world like that, or I can't do X, Y, and Z, so I must not be successful. That is a facade. And a lot of people go into debt just for the sake of looking a certain way. Okay. I will never forget my first internship ever. I overheard a conversation about this person that I was working with who was really frustrated with this couple because this couple came in seeking some financial help. They were wealthy. They were well off. They live in a home that was about $500,000, valued at that time at about $500,000. They had luxury vehicles. The kids were in private school, but they couldn't afford to pay their mortgage. And so the advisor was like, if you got rid of just one of your vehicles. Oh, and the mother didn't work. She didn't have the husband made so much she really didn't have to work. And the advisor was like, if you get rid of one of your vehicles and swapped it out for something like a Honda Civic, and they weren't just driving like base model luxuries like in Mercedes and BMWs. They had like C-Class and stuff like that. These were really, really nice luxury vehicles. They said if you got rid of one of your vehicles, swapped it out for something practical like a Honda or a Camry. And Hondas and Camrys, they're nice, reliable cars. And they look good. You could keep your lifestyle, keep your home, and keep the kids in private school. And the lady was like, oh no, I can't do that. You're willing to foreclose on your house for the sake of appearances. This is very common. The financial advisor was like, I can't help you. You're doing all of this to look a certain way. And so this is why I always appreciate books like this. This is why I don't watch lifestyle content or family vlogging, because I mean, you see a lot of people just trying to keep up with the Joneses, and ain't nobody got time for that. Okay, a short review, not really needing to go any further with this. The Convenience Store Woman is a dry, quirky, witty novel. It's very short, like I've said. You can read it in 1 or 2 sittings, but it makes you think. Or if it's a topic that you aren't unfamiliar with, you're like, oh yeah, she said what's always been in my head, and she just articulated it in a way that I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I've been trying to say. And it also highlights how those who work, operate, think, function, go off the life script are considered foreign objects and have difficulty navigating within these rules. However, what I liked about this book is that Murata doesn't make Furukawa's life seem like a pity party. This is not one of those, it's not, to me at least, it didn't come across as angsty. This isn't 20-something-year-old angst. Oh, I just don't fit in. No, this is somebody who's come to terms with their life. They are really kind of unbothered. They're annoyed with everybody else and just like, leave me be, let me do what I want to do, stay in your lane and mind your business. She's unapologetic and very, very blunt. And that to me is what makes this type of book, the way that Murata writes it, stand out versus other books that are just angsty about people not fitting in. This person knows they're different. They are kind of unbothered with it at this point. And they're just like, okay, whatever. I'm moving on with my life. Stay in your lane. This 172-page book packs a punch. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I highlighted it like crazy. And I plan to read Earthlings. And she's recently, in English at least, a short story collection of hers has also been released in English, I believe this year. If not this year, it was in 2021. And I do plan on reading that. I enjoyed it. I liked it. It's a quick read. It gets the job done. It's not fluffy. What else could you want? Yeah, let's wrap this up. Thanks for watching this video. I kind of felt like I was a little all over the place, but if you have read this book, let me know what you thought about it. Some people felt like this book was disturbing. There's some dark humor in there. I'm rarely disturbed. I was not disturbed. I was like, what's considered disturbing in this book to me is pretty benign. Maybe that says a lot about me. I don't know. But did you like this book? Have you read Murata's other novel and her short story collection? If you liked this video, please feel free to like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.